If you want to request a tutorial, leave a comment down below, and remember to like, subscribe with notifications, and to check out all my other videos. Now, onto the tutorial. Hey guys, Blop here, and today, I'm going to show you how to make a Freddy or a Bonnie plush. Of course, this is Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, but you can make any Freddy or Bonnie. I'm also ranking this tutorial 4 stars. Now, onto the materials. So, funny thing, I lost the footage to me showing off the materials, so they're all gonna be up on screen right now. You can change the color of your fabric to whatever plush you're making, but just make sure that your thread is the same color as the fabric. Also, make sure to cut out part 1 of your pattern. You will have all of these pieces. Now, you're going to take 2 of your back pieces and sew them along this long straight edge. This will be your finished back piece. Now, you are going to take your body piece and sew the left edge together, the right edges together, just like that. You also need to do 1 stitch through the left side and the right side of the tops. This is what it will look like. Now, you can go ahead and flip your body back to the bad side. Then, you are going to grab your stomach piece and place it in the middle hole on the body piece. Then, you're going to stitch it in where it fits together. This is how the stomach should be sewn in. Now, you're going to take your bottom piece and align it with the bottom straight edge of the stomach. You're going to stitch along that edge. Then, you're going to line up the rounded edge of the bottom piece with the 2 back pieces and stitch along that edge. This will be the base of your body. Now, you're going to take one of your leg pieces, fold it over, and stitch along this straight edge. This will be the finished leg piece. Now, you're going to take one of your foot pieces and sew it into your leg. Repeat this for both legs. Once you finish the leg, flip it right side out. Then, take your body with the bad stitches showing. After that, take your leg and stuff it into the body. Make sure that the seam of the leg lines up with the seam on the body. After you've done that, you can go ahead and stitch the leg in. Repeat this for both legs. This will be the body with the legs. Now, you're going to take your arm and do 1 stitch on this very edge. Then, you're going to sew the hand piece in. After you've sewn your hand onto your arm, you're going to see that the curve of the arm only fits this much on the body. So, what you're going to do is you're going to stitch from here all the way back to the hand. This will be your finished arm. Make sure none of the stitches are showing. Then, you're gonna stuff the arm in and make sure the lower seam of the arm lines up with the side seam of the body, not the top. After you've stuffed the arm in, you can go ahead and stitch it. Now, since you have all your limbs sewn on, you can go ahead and flip the body inside out through the neck hole. Once the body is flipped inside out, you can stuff it. This is how the body will look. Now, you're going to cut out patterns part 2 and part 3, but do not cut out the pieces of the character you're not making. So if you're making Freddy, you will not cut out the Bonnie pieces, and vice versa. You should have all of these pieces. Make sure you have the right number of them cut out. First, take one of your eye pieces. Then, you're going to do 1 stitch at one point of the edge. Now, you're going to take your needle and sew through the eye down, then up, then down, then up. You will repeat this stitch until you meet back to the first stitch. After you finish stitching up the eye, make sure to grab some stuffing. Now, you're gonna pull on the thread, but make sure you don't fully close the eye. Once the eye looks like this, you can go ahead and put the stuffing in. Once you have all the stuffing you can fit in the eye, make sure to pull tightly on the thread. Then what you're going to do is you're going to do a few stitches around the eye, just to make sure that the stitches are secure. If you need to, you can go ahead and run a stitch around the eye again. But you don't have to worry about the back of the eye being closed, since that will be covered up later. This is how the eye will look. You can also go ahead and color on the iris, the pupil, and glue on the little shine in the eye. Now, take your face piece. What you're going to do is you're going to fold it over itself and stitch along this top edge. Now, you're going to have this hole open. If you don't want eyebrows, you can just stitch this shut. But if you do, I'm going to show you how to do that now. To sew in eyebrows, what you're going to do is you're going to take your face piece and make sure that it's flipped inside out to where you can see the stitches. Then you're going to stuff your eyebrow into the bottom seam, but make sure that there's still a tiny bit left. Then you're going to stitch through the eyebrow and the face piece. This is the sewn up face piece. Now on to the jaw. This is your jaw piece. What you're going to do is sew up all 4 darts on the cheeks. This will be the jaw. Now on to the nose. For the nose, all you're going to do is stitch up the 2 darts on each side. This will be the nose. Now let's work on the muzzle. Now, take your muzzle, and you're going to sew these 2 edges together, and the 2 darts on the sides together. This is going to be your muzzle. Now, take your nose and put it inside of the hole inside of the muzzle. Then, you're going to stitch it in. This is how the nose will look sewn in. Now, you're going to sew this edge of the muzzle onto the jaw, then this edge of the muzzle onto the jaw. Once you've sewn those edges on, you can sew along this straight edge. Now, you're going to take your face piece and line up the curved edge onto the cheek, then stitch that on. Do that for the other side. Then once you're finished, you'll sew the straight edge along the muzzle. This is how the cheeks will look when they're sewn in. This is how the face will look. Now, set that to the side and grab your back piece. For the back piece, all you'll do is fold it over itself, then stitch along the long curved edge. This will be the sewn up back piece. Now let's move on to the ears. If you're making Bonnie, you will have long ears with 2 inner ear pieces, but if you're making Freddy, you will have 2 short ears with 1 inner ear piece. The process will be the same for both of them. First, you will glue your inner ear pieces on one of your ear pieces. The ear will either look like this or like this. Make sure that whenever you glue the inner ears in, you've mirrored the inner ears for both pieces. Now what you're going to do is you're going to grab your other ear piece that doesn't have an inner ear and put it over the inner ear side of that ear. Then you will stitch all the way around except for the bottom. This will be a finished ear for Bonnie, and this will be a finished ear for Freddy. Of course, you don't have to follow the inner ear patterns if you don't like how they turn out. Now, take your back piece and sew its curved edge along the cheeks of the jaw. Make sure not to stitch the top of the back piece to the top of the face. After you've sewn in the curved edges, you can also go ahead and sew in Freddy's ears right on the corners if you're making a Freddy. But if you're making Bonnie, you will save the ears for the top. Make sure that whenever you put your ears into the head, that the inner ear is facing the face. To sew in the ears, all you have to do is stuff them into the head, then stitch them along with the head. This will be the finished head for a Bonnie plush. Of course, if you made Freddy, your ears will be on the sides, but it will still look something like this. Now you can go ahead and stuff the head. Once you've stuffed the head, it will look like this. And you may have noticed now that the hole on the bottom of the head is bigger than the hole on the body. So, what you're going to do is you're going to do a stitch similar to what you did for the eyes. You're going to go in and out of the fabric, just like you did with the eyes, looping all the way back to that beginning stitch. After you've done the stitch all the way around, make sure all of the stuffing is inside of the head of the plush. Then, you will pull tightly on the thread as to close up the hole. The hole won't be fully closed, but that won't matter because we will not be able to see it. Make sure to add some extra stitches so that the thread doesn't come loose. Then tie a knot. After you've done that, you can go ahead and ladder stitch the head onto the body. If you feel that the space between your body and head is understuffed, you can stop ladder stitching for a second and add some extra stuffing to the head. Then continue your stitch. Once you're done with your ladder stitch, tie a knot on the back. This will be the base of the plush. If you don't like the shape of the muzzle currently, what you can do is do a stitch from the jaw up to the top of the muzzle, and then repeat that for both sides. You may also want to do this for the middle of the muzzle. This will be your finished face. Now, you can grab an eye and then do a stitch on the side of the eye. After you've done the stitch on the side of the eye, what you're going to do is ladder stitch the eye onto the face. Make sure that whenever you're ladder stitching the eye onto the face, that you don't ladder stitch the back of the eye, but instead the side of the eye, because if you do it on the back, it'll make the eye pop out and it'll look strange. These are how the eyes might look on your plushies. Now I'm going to show you how to make a hat for Freddy. First, take your hat base piece and fold it over itself. Then you will stitch along that edge. After you've done that, you will take the hat top piece and sew it onto the top of the hat base. Then you will take your hat brim and sew it onto the bottom of the hat base. Once the hat is done, you can go ahead and stuff it. Then you will ladder stitch your hat onto your Freddy. This is how the hat will look on your plush. Now I'm going to show you how to make the bow tie. To make the tie, take the bow and knot pieces. First, what you're going to do is you're going to take your knot piece and glue it over only half of the bow. Then you're going to put glue on the bow piece and then flip it over itself so that it glues onto the knot. Then you will take the knot piece and pull it over itself and then glue it on the back of the bow, so then you have a finished tie. This will be the finished tie. Now you can place glue on the back of your tie and place it onto your plush. Then your plush is done. Of course, if you wanted to, you could cut out custom cheek or button pieces to glue on to the face or body. If you made this plush or are planning to, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe with notifications and to tell me what character I should make next. Don't forget to make sure to check out my other plush tutorials and plush videos. I'd especially appreciate it if you were to check out a recent plush video called The Prank. It's one of my favorites yet, and so I'd really appreciate it if you check it out. Also, please make sure to hang around my channel till the Halloween special, because I'm working really hard on it, and I want a lot of people to see it. But that's about it for this video. See you guys next time.